Om Namo Namaha. In the previous video, we have discussed Utpatti Sthanani, the place of origin of the letters, the Varna. Today, we will be discussing what some other Vishishtaha Varnaha, some other special characters that are used, not necessarily in Samskrtam, but present in the language as a an extinct character, maybe, or maybe used only in the Vedas. Let us see some of them. The Yama Aksharani, though, which we were discussing there back, the four of them. That is what these letters probably signified, how they have to be pronounced. With the Chandra Bindu. Now these are very special. They are restricted only to the Vedas and they are not used in any of the other classic Samskrita texts. That is one. Then the second one is the Anuswara. The Anuswara, which we ended up discussing the last time, we ended up saying it was ordained to be pronounced from the Nasika. But why is that? Doesn't it have a M and so also included in the Ostha part? That's right. It should be included in the Ostha when the Anuswara transforms into a M. When it is destined to become a M under circumstances, it becomes the Ostha form. That's true. But it's a placeholder. It's temporary. Like the Visarga, it changes into different characters, different letters itself. So now the general categorization of Anuswara is five-folded. First three are present to some extent in the Veda, in the classical Samskritam, and the other two exclusively in the Vedas. The first three, which is the most frequent one, is the Bindu, the single dot above, represented in Devanagari. That is, example, Hastam Harate. Then it becomes the M sound, Hastam. And hence it has the most M-ness. The M is evident most in the Bindu form. The second form is the that is the partially nasalized form with less to no presence of M. Mol. When you say that is, you are just nasalizing the vowel that is called the Chandra because it is the crescent moon above the vowel, written in Devanagari again. Probably also there in Marathi and in Hindi, I guess. So that is useful in representing many of English words like ball, shan. It's not actually shan. It's not only shown. It is between a and o or between a and a. That is represented by this. That is where this comes in handy. This Chandra. Okay. Then the third form is the Chandra Bindu, a conglomeration and amalgamation of the Bindu and the Chandra, so it becomes the Chandra Bindu. Now that is quite frequent, and this has almost no ma at all. Sthitang, ang, ime, sthitang. Now this is also occurs in Hindi, I think. Sthitang, ime. That is how Anuswara, Chandra Bindu is used in. Now this is again not quite common, but is used in Vyakarana to denote in the Dhatu Pata. But other than that, in the classical Samskrita, this is not as common, as popular as the Bindu. However, this is also present quite often in the Veda. Now, this slowly transitions into the next two, which are exclusively present in the Veda. It's called in the Vaidika Bhasha. So this is the that is the which I have termed it as Nadri. This is not a traditional name given to this. Now, for example, in this Vayam Soma Vrate Tava Vayam 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 Aum. That is the people have some scholars do represent it as gum, but I doubt if the kantha part is to be pronounced with the anuswara, the modification of anuswara, which is this called the nadri, which I termed it as nadri, because it should be exclusively only nasika, and hence I would prefer to pronounce it as vayagam. This is what even Dayananda Saraswati, Swami Dayananda Saraswati has also told in his in one of his books in Panini Uchara. Now this is Vaya. Soma Vrate Tava Vaya. Now this is how I would represent it in Devanagari, but people have represented it differently in different scripts, in different connotations of or gum. But I doubt that g should come there. That's my view. And here this is the hradi. I termed it hradi. It has that manas has completely disappeared here, and there's a dominance of the sound when you swallow. When you swallow any curd or something, you close your mouth. You need not open it, but you put your epiglottis back and forth here in the pharynx region. That becomes the now probably that is where, because this, when you're pulling back your tongue and you're closing the epiglottis, this is the region which is dominated, called the kantha, and hence the reason why some scholars would choose to call it the g, vayagysyama. I would rather prefer saying vayagysyama, vayagysyama, vayagysyama patayora yinam. Now this is what the 5 variations of Anuswara, the modifications are. And some of the other Varnas which are not common at all in Samskritam, but the Devanagari would provide as a scriptural advantage. The la, it's not actually very common, as I said before, in the classical Samskritam, and it is found in the Vedic languages. In the Vedic language, la, this is the la, which is the murdhanya. It is not la, it is not the dantya la, it is the la, where you put your tongue, you roll it backwards and hit the hard palate. La, which is similar to da, la, da, la and da. That's why people have chosen to interpret the la wherever la occurs in the Vedic to be the da. Then this is the other one, which is common in the South Indian languages and mostly in Tamil. This is the ra, ra. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it rightly, but I'm not a Tamilian, so maybe the Tamilians can help here. Ra, is that how you pronounce that? Ra, with the dot here in Devanagari. Ra, ra. It's close to la and the ra. The ra and the la, something it comes in between that. And that's very rare at all. It's so rare that probably they would say that it's the influence of Tamil that any chance with this letter could have come. And then in the Arabic, that we see a lot of khan, then akh, all of that in the Urdu, the Persian, etc. Those Middle Eastern languages. Then that has a close relative in Samskritam as well, which is the Jihwa Muliya, the akh, which is very similar. Here we use ha and ka, the ha first and the ka later. Here it is the reverse. It is ka and then the ha. So it becomes kh. The kh is as though you can't distinguish it entirely from the Jihwa Muliya, but this is also another special character that we use. And for example, in the Rudra, we see akhidate cha prakhidate cha namo kirikebhyo, etc. And then akhidate cha prakhidate. That is how. Now this is very common in the Mleshta Bhasha, the Middle Eastern, Persian, etc. languages. Then the z, Z, although this is in itself very rare in the English alphabet. Z, with hardly 2 or 3 words which begin with Z, and mostly in the British versions of persecution or etc., something like that. Metamorphosize, size, that is Z, Z. And that is similar to the Z, the conjunct J and S, Z, Z. And this is why even pizza would be pronounced as pizza, pizza. And why the th comes is because actually there's a sandhi in ja, and when ja and sa happens, the ja gets swallowed to produce the th. The th sound comes along with the sa because sa, pizza, pizza. So pit and sa, it is pizza itself, with the ja also coming up. It's showing its head a little. So that's the somehow amalgamation of ja, ta, and sa. Why does ta come? Because sa is a what do you say? It's the relative of ta. You see here, the lu, tu, la, sa. Sa is a cousin of ta, and hence they originate in the same place. Then the fa found, which is probably common in Hindi more so than in Samskrita, is actually not an entire consonant by itself, but is the ayoga vaha, the f, by blowing air over your lips. F, that is the f sound. That is the fa. Although it is very similar, it is not common in Samskritam as a consonant. And then, so you won't have a word saying phala, because that is not Samskritam. It should be phala. It starts with pa, the stronger version of pa, pa, and the reason for the confusion is when you put pha, because her h should come because you're stressing on the pa, you're expirating more on the pa, but in English ph would become the f sound, and probably that's the cause of confusion, that it should be pronounced as fa, phala, fufusa. That is wrong. It is pupusa. The lungs, what you say lungs in Sanskrit is pupusa. Pu. You spit. Pupusa. That is how. And then we see this letter in many chants. We see this is called the avagraha chinha, the S character, a modified S, the capital S. But that is actually just a placeholder. It just signifies that a was there. The hraswa a was there before in that position, but now it has elided. It has disappeared. It could also mean to emphasize the previous swara, which whatever occurs before this avagraha. For example, if and this S character comes, it just means you just put emphasis on the itself. Some would say to elongate it, but I don't know. I'm unsure if elongation was the purpose of this avagraha. And when you say balesmin, that bale and asmin was the sandhi there. And so the avagraha has replaced the and it becomes balesmin. There is just only a, balesmin, that's it, in the avagraha. But avagraha just says that a was there, but now it has disappeared. Then moving forward, that is a. This is a short form of a. Now Sanskritam a is long, but in some languages we have the a, like endu in Kannada, endu, enda. That is ele. That is a. Now this is how it is represented in Devanagari. Then o, the short form of o. Now these two vowels are not present in Samskritam at all, no, but they are present in the script. O, like obba, that is o. Then this is a special character for om that we saw in the picture before. Now that is just a pluta o with the pluta swara om. Now these are some of the special characters present in Samskritam. The next video will be discussing of the very famous, the Maheshwara Sutra, the Panini's masterpiece, the Maheshwara Sutrani, the 14 sutras which Shiva himself is said to have given him. Dhanyavada.